Today's podcast episode is brought to you by Hodinkee Insurance, a new venture partnering both Hodinkee and Chubb, two industry leaders in their respective fields. Hodinkee Insurance is a refreshing new way to protect the timepieces we enjoy and collect. It's a true game changer in that it was designed by watch enthusiasts for watch enthusiasts, and it makes the process of insuring your watches as simple as possible by eliminating the typical pain points that can make insuring your timepieces difficult. This is especially true with vintage timepieces. Stay tuned later in the episode for more information, and be sure to check out insurance.hodinkee.com or download the Hodinkee app on iOS or Android. Hey everyone, welcome to the 10 and 2 podcast. I'm Kat.
I'm Catlin.
And we're here every week talking watches, photography, adventure, and exploring the world of horology.
I thought you were going to mess it up for a second. You paused. There was a long pause.
I normally do, but I didn't mess it up today.
No, thank goodness.
Well, how are you today, Catlin?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited. We have a guest that
I'm very excited.
I wanted to have on the show for a while now.
I know.
And he said yes, which like blew my mind.
He said yes.
Well, that's awfully nice of you.
He showed up in a tie-dye hoodie with a Clark or with a, it's from the Griswolds, right? The Moose?
It's the Griswold.
Yes.
It's a vacation.
Yeah, I literally watched that movie last night. So with the Griswold Moose cup filled with Jack Daniels, and we're ready to hang out.
Yeah, we have Christian Zeron from over at Theo and Harris on today. How are you, Christian?
I'm doing super well. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited.
Thank you for being on. I think this is kind of funny because I've followed you for a while now, and we've DM'd here and there, and I can't remember what it was. There was some story you did, and I replied, and you're like, when am I coming on the show? And I was like, what? You want to be on our show? I was like, let's do it.
Like right now.
Yeah.
Like let's just hop on the phone call. That's fine.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I remember yesterday, and I was awake. I was DMing, you know. I was being young. And
Being young.
And I was drunk, and I said, you know what I want to do right now? I want to commit to a podcast. So,
yeah, well, I'm so glad you did. I am so glad you did. I've actually, we've talked to Anna a couple times, and I wanted to have her on a while ago, and we got really busy, and she is someone that we'd still love to have on because I think she has a unique perspective probably on you and working with you. But we are huge fans, and we're just excited to have you on the show today. So for those that don't know what Theo and Harris is, can you break it down for us, for our listeners?
Yes. So today, Theo and Harris is a retail shop for vintage watches, specializing in Rolex, Omega, the occasional Patek Philippe, all those different big name brands. But primarily, the big direction we're moving in is in media consultancy. Right? We've kind of built out a media agency for major brands. We are, among other things, really storytelling for them, which we'll get into later, but it's a pretty unusual product in our space. In other spaces, this product exists, but in watches, it really doesn't. So we are actually kind of like the only ones doing it. So it's actually really, really exciting. Yeah,
that's something that I've really noticed in the past year from you guys. I used to watch your YouTube channel a lot, and if you're listening to the show and you've watched Christian on his YouTube channel in the past, and you're like, maybe this isn't for me, I urge you to go on there.
Totally different.
It is a lot different. Yeah. The stories that you guys are telling, the latest, the Accutron video was amazing. The Nomos video was amazing. My favorite, it's kind of odd. I like the, what was it? The $12 million apartment?
The penthouse one.
Yeah.
Yes. The
that was
apartment
pretty
one.
cool, right?
I liked it. It's just, watches are a lifestyle, and I think you embodied a lifestyle that accompanies why we buy watches in the first place. Mm-hmm. So I think, big kudos to you, because that was really awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, when people go back and look at the channel, I strongly suggest they watch newer stuff because, I'm 25, right? And the company's 6 years old. So I was 19 when I started it.
Oh my gosh.
I've grown up on camera. like legitimately.
Yeah.
I'm still a young guy, so I'm still immature, but I was so immature and sometimes like needlessly irreverent. And I look back and I'm like, oh God, what a kid, what a schmuck, but listen, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't at one point there. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what Theo and Harris, kind of the public image has changed, incredibly in the last 6 years.
Yeah. And that's not to say that I didn't like the videos, because I do remember watching you. I think you used to do a series that you were sitting in the back of a car.
Yeah, in my 2009 Red Jetta. Yeah. You know how hard it was to bring girls on dates in a 2009 Red Jetta? I swear I'm going to be successful one day. I swear to God.
I promise.
But I feel like in New York City, if you have a vehicle, then that's pretty legit though, right?
I know, but you were at private school. All the other guys are driving Range Rovers.
Oh no!
I'm going to pick up a girl and I'm like, hey, you mind?
That's awesome. But you guys, you've come such a long way, and it's really exciting to see the direction that you're going with the channel. And your website's doing great too. And I wanted to ask, where did the inspiration? Did you know that you always kind of wanted to go into the vintage watch category, or even watches in general? Was that in the back of your mind?
I think that, I never read as a kid. I never read. I have a really hard time reading till today. I'm dyslexic. Everything's backwards. It's all fucked up. But I never read. So it was like an ongoing fight in my house. You have to practice. You have to practice. And then one day we were talking about, other things, and watches came up, and I knew a lot about watches. And my mom said, whoa, how the fuck did you learn all about watches? And I said, I was reading. And she goes, you were reading? How? When? What? So she encouraged me, pursue this, look more into it, keep studying, who knows, who knows what happens, So, you give me an inch and I take a yard. So I ended up starting this company, about watches, now I'm an avid reader. All I do is read, and that's great. But it really wouldn't be the case if it weren't for watches. It really, watches really were the whole beginning.
Yeah. Something that you found that you just could kind of grasp onto. I mean, obviously you have this entrepreneur spirit inside of you that you've probably always had, and then watches were just kind of the thing.
And no one in my family, my dad has a job. Like my dad's, he's in corporate America, so he has a job, but no one else in my family has ever had a job. Nobody.
Wow.
Everyone was an entrepreneur who had dry cleaners, who had restaurants, who had nightclubs, and not to say that they were rich. Some people were, most weren't, but nobody, like the identity that I grew up with what is a man was we go out there, we make our earn. We go out there, and that was so my idea of what adulthood was totally skewed. A lot of my other friends, they were like, no, we're gonna go to Princeton and blah 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 blah. I didn't look at those guys as like grown-ups, even though their parents were 40. I was like, oh, that's I don't know, it's not my family, So I identified with the kind of like out there hustling and piecing together a living. So I just looked at that as something that I wanted to do, which was super backwards in a way, nothing wrong with a real job, but I think it was kind of destiny,
Yeah, I mean, there is something to be said for working for yourself, and we've had a little bit of a taste for that with just running the podcast, and it's kind of become a somewhat part-time job for us. And
full-time job.
When you get to make the rules, it's just so different. I mean, there's nothing else like it, and I can see. You obviously you have it in your blood, essentially. You guys, your family, with everybody kind of starting something on their own, that's theirs, and it's kind of your baby. And I know you probably feel that way about Theo and Harris, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what goes hand in hand is just accountability, right? If you had a really good year, that's because you're really smart. If you had a really bad year, it's because you made really bad decisions. Period. End. And I find whether that's in corporate, friends, or even entrepreneurs, or just people in general, everyone's like allergic to accountability. Like everyone's allergic. No one wants to be accountable.
No.
Right.
forbid,
It's always somebody else's fault. Something else happened. If it wasn't for the economy, if it wasn't for,
Shut the fuck up. Oh my God. And so my dad grew up super, super poor in the ghetto of Brooklyn. And, I didn't. I grew up in a nice area, so I can't complain. But I grew up with a dad, that grew up with legitimate cockroaches in his apartment. Told me, I never want to hear an excuse. There are explanations for hardships. Explanations are great, and we have a hard life, right? There's nothing. I'm not saying that there's nothing that's holding you back, but there's no excuse, and it's it. You got to figure it out. Figure it out. I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah,
that was just the kind of like.
Yeah, I like that philosophy. I don't like pointing fingers. If something goes wrong, I'm the first one that I look at, it's on me, it's on us.
Yeah.
And I like that philosophy.
Well, especially when you have your name behind something. Mm-hmm. If you are blaming other people or other outside influences for something you have your name behind, I mean, how well or how good are you at what you're doing? At the end of the day, you have all of the control. So, there are always going to be outside influences, outside circumstances, things like that. But if you can control them, do it. Like maximize everything you have control over.
Of course. And I think that, related, even on like a more simple level, like people are so in watches and in all things, but watches are highly technical. So this happens even more in watches, but people are so afraid to say, oh, I don't know. I don't know what you're referencing. I don't know. I just didn't. I was unaware. People that to people is ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
How could I admit that I don't know? Everyone wants to pretend to know. They want to feign intelligence. It's ridiculous. You sound like a moron, and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
When I'm in the room constantly with people who know way more about watches than I do. Let's say vintage Patek or vintage, whatever. And I just sit there and listen. And if they say, oh, the reference 8922, I'm like, no, I really don't. What is that? I don't know. And I feel that young guys, morons, they get weirded out, but the older dudes, the smart dudes, they're like, oh, that's a power move.
Because you're not bullshitting. You're not.
Yep. In a world of posers, just be the guy that just says, oh, I don't know.
Just be honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the reality. Like nobody knows every single watch brand and every single watch that was ever made and every movement and every detail of every movement.
Yeah.
And it's okay to admit that. Like there's a lot we don't know. I'm very quick to say, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, but it does. It makes you ignorant. We were actually just talking about this earlier about, people who will pretend to say, or who will say, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Then you get into more detail and it just makes that person look more like, I mean, if we're already cussing, it makes you look more like a jackass than what you were before. So
100%.
The explicit episode.
Yeah. Well, so when you started Theo and Harris, I know Anna's been with you for a while, but what was your team like? Because I know you've grown. I don't know how many employees you have now.
Yeah, so I started Theo and Harris 6 years ago with $9,400. So I didn't have enough money to pay really anyone or buy inventory.
I was going to say that's like one watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even a sub. It's not even a sub. So I bought, let's say I don't want to misquote, but I think I bought like $6,000 in watches, which is nothing in the grand scheme. Most of our competitors started off with several $1 million in inventory. So we had $6,000 in inventory, and I said, okay, I have $3,400 left to pay employees. So I asked Anna, hey, can you take some photos? Anna and I were in college together. We were doing mock trial together. I was going to be an attorney. That's another story.
I love this.
You would have been a fantastic attorney, by the way.
Yeah. No, I was going to, I was working at a fantastic law firm, one of the city's, best law firms. I was working as an intern the summer that Proposition 8, which was the federal legalization of gay marriage, passed at this law firm. Like our partner was of counsel.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Like it was the coolest thing. You couldn't have asked for like more of a cinematic, law experience. But anyway, I said, hey, I need some photos to be taken. Could you do that? And she was like, well, I have a camera, but I don't know how to take photos. And I said, well, it's better than what I can do. So, I think I gave her $400 to take photos. So now I'm down to $3,000. I know I still needed to build a website. It was horrible. It was horrible. So anyway, I figured it out. I found a web developer through a family friend, and I put it this way: by launch, I had $4 in the bank account. By
oh my
the
gosh!
time we launched the company,
you hustled. You had to hustle.
And Yeah. And we just, just started doing our best to sell watches. I sold our first watch, I think like the first week, within a week. I think I made $30. I was like, yeah, $30. Fuck yeah, And it's funny because the guy I sold the watch to ended up being a friend, and he still owns it.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of special. It's kind of cool.
Well, I mean, you talk about 6 years ago. Well, I mean, not that the vintage market has changed. Well, actually, it has changed drastically, but I'm sure you were able to get your hands on a lot of more affordable pieces than you were probably be able to today if you were starting a new vintage store online, which is very hard to do.
I tell people, our retail business has done very, very well. That's fantastic. It's all well and good. And that's definitely because we were smart. But part of the reason that we've done well, which is not because of intelligence, it's pure luck, was I put every dollar I ever made back into the business, period, and back into inventory. And this happened to be at a time, in retrospect, that inventory was cheap. So for just to make it an even number, let's say I put $100,000 into 34 millimeter roll in 2017. That's worth $210,000.
Yeah.
So just did we earn $110,000? No, we just happened to make a good investment. Like I didn't sell, you know what I mean? So a lot of our success was because of the growing market. We have plenty to be proud of, and plenty we have to point to and say we had no impact on this. We were just the benefactors of a changing market.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. I mean, you got into it at really such a great time.
Yeah.
I think it would just be so hard to, and you see people trying to today, and it's a struggle for sure. I think it's easier for people to get into the newer market than vintage right now, because you used to be able to find deals. There's no deals anymore. Like everyone has as a computer, as an iPad, as a phone that they can just immediately look something up on. And
you're not going to really buy anything grossly under market, but if we all use our brains a little bit, we can figure out markets that are undervalued and think, okay, in 2 years, what is this going to be worth? Now, buying one watch doesn't really make it worth it. What are you going to make? $500? Who cares? But not who cares, but if you are in a business and you say, okay, I'm going to put $75,000 behind this particular market, you can make money. You can make real money. So it's very, very, I used to do that a lot more than I do it now. Now I'm focused on media, but that was really the tactic that we used. Like that was one of the big things.
That's awesome. Now you said you got into watches at a younger age. Was it initially vintage or was it modern?
So the first two watches I remember seeing, my dad got his first Rolex at 40. My dad does very well now. My dad didn't do well until he was like 38, so I grew up like kind of not the poor kid, but like a little bit like definitely poor compared to my friends. Put it that way.
Lower middle class, average middle class.
Yeah, exactly right. Like definitely struggling, but not that we knew it, but we were. But so when he got his Rolex at 40, and my mom gave it to him as a gift for his 40th birthday. At the time, to put it in perspective, it was a GMT. And it was $3,700.
Oh gosh! Oh my gosh!
She should
cry a little bit.
So it all kind of happened at the same time. Like my dad started doing well. So not that he ever bought watches, because he never did, but he would be interested in looking at them. And he never bought them, but like at least he felt like, okay, I could be in this store and I could look at things and talk about things, and maybe I will buy something. Not that he did, but we felt a little bit more comfortable. And my grandfather had a vintage Omega that I was really enamored with as a child. But no, I didn't really start reading about watches until probably 17 or 18, and I started the company at 19. So literally a month after my 19th birthday. So
oh my gosh. And so I know your store, I've kind of browsed online. You do have the vintage pieces, but you're starting to carry some more modern stuff as well on there. Is that a direction you want to continue with some of the more modern stuff?
We take stuff in on trade, you know, when someone wants a, gold date that we have, okay, you have a modern Seamaster, I'll take it in, It works. They move slower because we really don't curate a modern, kind of identity. The inventory isn't modern in general, so they do move, more slowly. But it's okay. It's fine.
And I know you mentioned, your focus right now is the media and YouTube. Is that kind of where you're heading with Theo and Harris, or are you going to continue with selling vintage pieces?
We're definitely going to continue with selling vintage pieces, 100%. But the retail business is largely on autopilot. It just is.
Yeah.
It's not something I not that I don't care about it, but it's not something I take pride in. It's not something I think about. It makes basically a pretty tight range of money every year, and that's fantastic. And I'm extraordinarily lucky, but that doesn't make me proud. I don't. That's not very impressive to me, no matter how much money it is.
Yeah.
Selling watches does not really require any level of intelligence, and I fancy myself a pretty fucking smart guy. So how could I throw away my lead? Right?
Yeah.
I'm 25. I'm super young. Why would I wake up at 30 and say, wow, I didn't really take advantage of how smart I was? That sucks.
Definitely.
That's fucking embarrassing, So I said, you know what? Let's buckle down. Let's build a media business. And this, listen, I love my company. I'm so lucky to be where I am.
Mm-hmm.
But for the first time in 6 years, I can say I'm proud of this company.
Aw.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
And everyone always assumed, it's your baby, you're proud. I'm like, yeah, I don't care. It's a piggy bank. It's a piggy bank. And when I want to buy something, I take money out of it. That's it. But now I'm like, oh my God, this is an incredibly fulfilling experience. So I love it. I love it now.
That's incredible. And kind of just touching on your age a little bit, have you, without maybe naming names, or we can name names, it's fine. I'll bleep them out.
Yeah.
Have you? Did you find that
I kiss and tell.
Let's
go get our tea.
Yeah, we'll get our
ready.
tea. Did you find that you were, treated differently in this watch media sphere because of how young you were, really?
So the answer to that question, it's two answers. One, if anything, I'm treated better because people are always looking for the guru.
Okay.
Period. End.
Okay.
It's like this Zuckerberg effect. Everyone wants to find
That's
the
true.
cool young guy that's like a genius. So I kind of leverage that a little bit more than maybe I deserve to. You know what I mean?
You don't even need glasses. They're just for show.
Yeah, they're just for show. Exactly. So that. But listen, I mean, like I said before about YouTube, I still am young, but I was even younger. I was a little, like I said, needlessly irreverent. So I pissed some people off when I was young, and if they still hold it against me, I think that they're children and they should grow up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, did my age work against me in a way? Yes, it did.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
who gives a shit?
Do you regret any of those early videos?
I mean, I've deleted some. You can go back and look, they were numbered, so you can actually tell which ones I deleted. And most of them that I deleted were not because of opinion; they were because of just quality. Like the audio was horrible.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a crossroads. Do you delete old content or not? So I chose to. Maybe in totality, I've deleted 20 videos.
Oh,
maybe.
wow, that's quite a bit. It's quite a bit.
So yeah, but no, it got me here. So
there you go.
Yeah, I agree. And it's hard to realize that, but then you just got to own your own stuff. And like we were talking about earlier, and just.
And now a word from today's sponsor. Hodinkee, the preeminent resource for all things watches, has recently announced a new venture, Hodinkee Insurance. Created in partnership with Chubb, the world's premier insurer of valuable collections, Hodinkee Insurance is a game changer in how you protect the watches you love. Signing up takes just a few minutes, and in most cases, you can instantly protect your watches with comprehensive insurance backed by two of the most trusted names in their industries. In most cases, you won't need independent appraisals or sales receipts, and you won't even have to speak with an agent to get your quote. The ease in which you can apply for Hodinkee Insurance and get coverage makes insuring traditionally difficult timepieces, such as vintage watches, better now than ever. Not to mention the added peace of mind that comes with the appreciation protection, guaranteeing up to 150% of your watch's value up to the policy limit, ensuring fair value during an ever-changing watch market. Hodinkee Insurance is available to U.S. residents in all 50 states. Visit insurance.hodinkee.com or download the Hodinkee app for iOS or Android to learn more and sign up today.
What's your favorite, so you've obviously made so many different videos. You do reviews, you're doing this storytelling. What's your favorite type of video to make? Because you are a great storyteller, first of all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Our short films, right? Our short films, period. And I love everything about the process. I conceptualize so far all of them.
Okay.
and I'll probably continue to conceptualize 95%, but I really want to give Michael, our newest employee, I really want to give him latitude to conceptualize.
Yeah.
Right? But I manage them from beginning to end, and I love the script process. I love the cinematography. I love the editing process is amazing. I just love it. So short films, period. Period. You know, I don't particularly care for the videos where I sit actually in the seat and tell people about top 10 Rolexes under 5,000. I don't shit. It's mind numbing. I think it's very boring.
But it's got you where you are.
I think it's
though.
reductive.
Yeah. It's gotten you where you are.
But it gets clicks, and you kind of have no choice. You know, I mean, I do my best to make them entertaining, but it's reductive.
But I think that's the thing is you start out doing what you need to do. You hustle. You do what you know is going to get the clicks. You do what you know is going to build essentially your brand and your empire. And then you have the freedom to do whatever the hell you want to do. And you have the reputation to do that. And you have the pull to do that. Like nobody questions, maybe he shouldn't be doing this because, he just started or he's so young or whatever. You have 6 years of history and reputation to say, I have every right to do this and I can do whatever I want to do. And
yeah, it's really interesting. And this really came to light this week, especially. There's a really special type of breed of company right now that we fall into this category, and the only other I think player in the watch space that falls in this category is Hodinkee. Obviously, they're far larger than us, but they fall in the category as well. Is this hybrid of retail and media? It's more diverse. It's more safe. You know, it's a great business model. It exists in other areas, like Barstool Sports is a great example of someone that's heavily invested in both media and retail. And that was they were kind of the reference point for a lot of the talk this week when Hodinkee took a bunch of funding, and people are kind of realizing that if you can do it, this is the way to go. Because to media, to the companies that are signing the contracts, to the clients, you are that much more attractive because they know you can sell shit. I really wouldn't like if I was running the media buying for one of these companies, let's call it Omega. I really probably wouldn't work with YouTubers. Most of them have never sold a fucking thing in their life, right? Why would just because you have a following, you don't know how to sell anything. That doesn't mean anything. I don't care how big your following is. So I'm buying exposure. That's different. It's a different equation. I'll pay a lot less for exposure than I will for salesmanship.
Yeah.
So I kind of figured to myself, how can I demand the most amount of money per viewer? And that is salesmanship. And that is creative, which is ultimately salesmanship, right? And that's it. So people that are bringing in, let's say, 4 times our following, of which there are several, they're demanding nothing per viewer. They make no money, right? I didn't start this as a hobby. I started this to make money. It's a job, right?
Yeah.
And hey, if it's a hobby, that's fantastic. It's great. I absolutely have hobbies of my own, but don't complain that you're not able to sell anything to a brand. Well, you didn't build a business for that. You didn't. Like, it's no one else's fault but yours. So we have guys that are 4 times as large as we are, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 subscribers, and they can't get a fucking brand deal to save their lives.
Yeah.
And they look and they're like, you have 95,000 subscribers. Who the fuck are you? Why are you getting brand deals? And I said, well, because we're actually selling something. You know what I mean? Because we're actually selling a service. It's different.
I can tell. Yeah. I mean, I watch those videos, especially some of the later ones, and golly, like I want to go out and buy the watch because it's a story. Like you perfectly embodied the story of either the watch or the brand in those videos. The Nomos one, which I wanted to ask you because it's in German. What made you not have the video in English?
So I wrote the script for me. I was ready to record it. And we did the drum scene, and which first of all, so I spoke to Nomos. Okay, I'll give you a short anecdote. So one night I'm in the city with a client. I'm meeting a client, a really nice guy, and he says to me, "Hey, do you mind if I bring a friend?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I don't care. We could bring a friend, whatever. We'll have fun." So we show up. I get pretty fucked up. So does my friend. The other guy, I think he was drinking as well. Didn't matter. We had a blast, right? And the guy goes to the bathroom. The third guy goes to the bathroom. And my friend goes, "You know who that is?" I said, "No." He goes, "He owns Nomos." I said, "What? Am I making a fool
You're
out of
like,
the
damn it, I'm an
owner?
asshole.
Are you fucking kidding me? So anyway, we had a great night, whatever. We parted ways, and we stayed in touch a little bit. And this was like 3 years ago. So I never asked him to use us for media. Never.
Mm-hmm.
I said, when I'm ready, I'm going to hit him up. But until then, I'm just going to be nice. And we weren't ready. Like we just weren't ready. But in September, I hit them up. I said, hey, we're ready. I want to produce something for you. Let me know. So they're a German company. They're pretty conservative with their media. They're very conservative, not just with their ad spend, of which they're very conservative, but also with their concepts. Very clean and simple. Right.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I want to do something alternative. I have no interest in producing something simple for you. If you want that, go somewhere else. That's fine. But if you are ready to give us full creative control, I'm going to produce something great. I promise. Right? They said, all right, go for it. So we produced this thing.
Yeah.
And I wrote the script, and we did this. I for whatever reason, the watch I saw. So if you watch the video, it's the jumping date. It's the date on the outer ring. And I said, I want to see that date jump with drums. Don't know how that came to my mind, but I wanted that. Right.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I have to go find a drummer. So I found a drummer. Whatever. I set it up. So we recorded that on a Friday. I was supposed to record the audio on a Saturday. Right. Now we're on a tight schedule. So I said to the guy during the drumming, I said to my guy, Michael, who's our, video production kind of manager, I said, I can't read this script. He goes, why? I said, it's just not going to sound right in my voice. We need to get a manly, like tough German guy. And he was like, okay, Captain Creative, where the fuck are we going to get a manly German guy? So I said, okay, I looked online. I was looking for like paid voice actors, and I just got very, very tough. But on Instagram, my personal Instagram.
Okay.
And I said, if there's anyone on follower that speaks German that would be willing to, work on a collaboration with Nomos, let's do it. And I got hundreds of messages back, hundreds. And I do a lot of guys' voices. And there's one guy, Julian. I just said, that's it. That's the voice. He's the man. This guy's the man. And he happened to own a Nomos. Like it was super. It was super.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
And so I sent the video to Nomos 2 days before we were publishing, which was way too late. It should have been a week, but 2 days because we're unprofessional. And hey, just let me know. And I got a message back from the marketing director saying, Christian, we have never ever okayed anything like this. We love it. We can't believe it.
Oh my gosh.
Not only do we approve, we want to work together for all of 2021.
That's
so let's
awesome.
have a call.
Amazing.
And let's work out a plan. And I was like, fucking boom.
Yeah, I saw some of your stories of just you mentioning you were going to work with Nomos, and you talked about this being a job, but you could see the happiness in your face and how excited you were. And I know you've got some other projects coming up too, but it did surprise me when I heard that you were working with Nomos, because in my mind I'm thinking super conservative, and here's this guy that you are. I mean, there's no doubt that you're polarizing amongst the watch community. People love you or hate you, and to me that says a lot. You've made a name for yourself if you are in that position. But I was like, wow, they're gonna work with Christian. Interesting. And it was so amazing.
Yeah.
And you did a phenomenal job with that. And you and your team.
I'm definitely a hateable character. And I get that. I'm loud, I curse too much, I hate socialists, I post about it all the time. It's not very PC, I drink a lot, and I'm young and I'm not bad looking and I do well. So that's hateable.
It's hateable.
It is.
I mean, just the doing well part is hateable amongst many. We've found out, but
yeah. Sad people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, people need to be a little happier, but that's phenomenal. And I think I heard you mention something coming up with Breitling. Is that correct?
So right now, Omega comes out next week. It comes out next Thursday, I believe. Now, Omega is an alternative concept. It's interesting. It's much more, it's slower. It's much more, it's just chill. It's more interview style, but it's very, very good. I can't wait to release it. December 22nd, we're releasing Grand Seiko, which is without a doubt our best short film yet. It's 11 minutes. It's a documentary. It's unbelievable. It's literally unbelievable. I can't wait to release it. I figure going into Christmas, like that's the way to go into Christmas, off the back of just this incredible short film, and then bright and early in 2021, we're actually booked until September. We've sold all short films.
That's fantastic.
So, and then even once September hits, we have short films sold until December, but not every single slot. So anyway, we have Jacques, we have Breguet, Blancpain. We have a lot of brands. We have a lot of really.
Was there any that really Like what sticks out in your mind that you just brand wise that you are super excited about?
Well, it's not as much brand as it is concept. Like Jacques Dro is a brand that is fairly unknown, very small brand. Most people aren't excited about Jacques Dro because they don't even know it. But I am so excited about that film. I mean, Jacques Dro is a brand that represents the Enlightenment, right? I mean, it's this unbelievable history, and people write it off as the company is using an old and famous name. And I say, well, you're right. The Jacques Dro family doesn't still own the company, but the fact remains that the company, the namesake Jacques Dro, they actually create watches, basically. I mean, almost entirely in the vein of this great Enlightenment thinker. So, I mean. Is that better or worse than any other brand reissuing and reissuing? No, it's better, in many ways. So I'm excited about that. But we have a lot.
Yeah, well, and you are in a unique position because you get to tell that story. You get to be the one to put it out there and make people interested in it. It's not like Omega, which. I mean, if you're in the hobby, you know who Omega is. You get to be the one behind, promoting a brand that, deserves it at the end of the day. And that's exciting for sure.
And I'm telling you, in conversations with all these brands, one of the biggest golden threads, right, commonalities is people are waking up, brand managers, the marketing execs, they're waking up to what impressions are really worth. And it's not that much. So they're all of a sudden they're like, why are we paying this fucking bullshit blog $100,000 a year to do what? To do what? We don't need this. So now they're reallocating those funds, or they're starting to rather reallocating those funds to more creative and actually impactful things. Make people that want to work harder for the money, and there are two reasons why our competing blogs don't offer the service that we offer. The first is because why would you offer a more difficult service when you could offer an easier service, right? Just business-wise, it makes no sense. I'm probably doing a bad business decision in many ways, right? I could offer an easier service to provide. And second, many of them just simply aren't able to, right? They're not very talented people. They're really not. They're pretty boring. They don't have opinions really. They have no eye for creative, period end. So that's kind of where we are. So we're in this really unique, corner of the market that is growing really quickly.
Well, and you're doing something that's uniquely you. And like you said, I've noticed that. I've noticed in the last probably really since the pandemic, I feel like there's been such a shift in the mindset of brands. And that's something that I've been so excited to see. You see so much more of a personal engagement and really a change in the way that advertising is done, a change in the way social media is handled, the way that their marketing is handled, and getting to be more creative. Anybody can just write an article. That's the reality. I mean, there are writers who do a phenomenal job, and I'm not knocking that. Like, I wish that I had that level of talent and creativity. But for the most part, anybody can copy and paste a press release and just change up a little bit. I mean, Lord knows I've done it. We all do it. But to really be able to create something that's unique, like, you eight different blogs have the same press release, but what makes yours stand out? What makes yours worth investing in? And you see brands kind of leaning towards that direction of, hey, where can I get the best bang for my buck? It may not be the person with, 600,000 readers every week, but it's the person who has the bigger impact.
Yeah. I think that a great example of one of the only people, not the only person, but one of the only people in the industry that produces something that's unique and creative to some degree is Jack Forrester from Hodinkee, right? I actually don't even read Jack. I can't stand to read him. I think he's way too verbose. But I can recognize completely that he absolutely offers a service, 100%. That is a valuable person to have a cover or whatever your story. 100% I acknowledge that. I've talked to him before, but I probably never told him this, but I absolutely commend him for it. Not that he gives a shit who I commend for what, but that's the reality. Another thing that Hodinkee does really, really well, which we out and out stole because fuck it. Hodinkee really does very well with when they publish an article on a brand's behalf, the layout, the format of the article is fantastic. They do a great job with their, I guess, design, their page design, whatever you call it, UX, IX, I have no idea. Whatever that is, they do a great job. They're far superior than basically their competitors.
I mean, we've said it many times, like they are great businessmen at the end of the day. Like you can't we just can't knock them for what they've done. I mean, a lot of people can, and I think you have to look at everything in a.
Well, people are very jealous.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people are very jealous of Ben. I just don't have that gene.
That's good. That's a good gene not to have.
It's the hating on things that are successful, and I think that just in general, there's way too much of that. But out of curiosity, because you are doing the retail space and the media space, and this is a big call out for things like Hodinkee, how do you maintain that?
Transparency.
Yeah, the transparency. How do you say that you're not biased or anything like that? And that's just me playing devil's advocate here, because I think that most brands do a phenomenal job.
Well, that's what the community gets so angry with.
So how do you maintain that transparency?
No, it's a good question. So Hodinkee is in a bit more of a conundrum than we are, because they actually sell the watches that the brands, are the brands they're representing. Right? They actually retail those watches. We don't. We sell vintage watches, so it's different. But I guess the question comes down to, how can you be objective and honest and reliable if you're being paid for your video? And yeah, I see the concern, and I absolutely think that that's a red flag that the viewer should then look into. It's a red flag, but it in and of itself isn't evidence of deceit.
Yeah,
it's not. Just because I have an incentive to lie to you does not mean I did.
Right.
I need to prove that I did. So most people, I would say the vast majority of people, trust every partnership video that we've produced so far. Why? Because it makes no sense to distrust them, because we're standing behind great watches. Now, there will be a time, where we are asked to stand behind a watch or make a watch beautiful when in fact it is not. And unless I have some sort of, crisis where I Gordon Gekko myself and become a piece of shit, I will probably deny it. And not deny it, simply because I'm a good, honorable man, but deny it because it's in the best interest of the company, right? To maintain, a level of respect and trust. So it's not just all like, oh, Christian's the good guy. Not the case. I just think it's,
you are a good guy.
Not the case. It's because looking further down the line, you say it's better to have the reliability, the trust.
I can see that's a good point. Really good point. One thing I did want to, to ask you was, you were such a fan to the vintage watches and the smaller sizes. And I'm starting to see in a lot of your videos here lately that you're taking a liking to some of the larger watches. I think I watched the Bond Seamaster, and I was really surprised your take on it, because I immediately thought, I was like, oh, this is going to be too big for him. And then you were like, I actually like this. I think it looks good and fits good. And has your perspective on watches changed? Obviously, you've been a lot more hands-on with watches over the last few years, but I can just see a difference from Christian then and Christian now in your taste in watches. Is that it's not? Is it the design?
Yeah, I think. I've seen more, and I've held more, and I've kind of learned to to love more things. I've also learned to hate a lot of things that I didn't hate before. In truth, but there are watches now that I look at with just total admiration. Breguet's Tradition is one of those watches, right? I think that is such a phenomenal watch. A perfect meeting point of modern technology and a kind of classical fine design. It's a beautiful watch. Never a watch I would have ever considered in the past, but yeah, I've definitely come around to things.
I like that a lot. I think we tend to, and we're very open to it, but we tend to get stuck in our ways sometimes and in our opinions. And this is the only opinion we have, and you can never change it. And like someone will call you out on that. We said in the beginning we weren't huge fans of quartz watches, and Caitlin's literally waiting on a quartz watch to come in today.
That is never coming, apparently, for the love of God.
Yeah, but I think just being open.
I own two quartz watches.
What are they, if I may ask?
I own a swatch that I got when I was my first watch, and I own a solid gold watch from Bauer Mercier that was made in the 70s, which is basically kind of like a child of the Piaget Polo.
Wow.
I'm Italian. My family's from Brooklyn, and the Piaget Polo was always a watch, the old one that I remember seeing as a kid. So when I found something very similar, I said, "Oh, I have to have this watch. This is the most 70s, like just piece of shit watch ever, like douchebag watch." But it's fantastic. I wear it all the time, and when I wear it, I wear it all the time. I look like I came off the cast of Casino, but I absolutely adore that watch.
Well, it's what it's all about. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. So as we kind of close down the show, I guess we didn't do a wristwatch check. What are you wearing today? I see something on a Jubilee. Looks like.
Believe it or not, a watch you probably wouldn't have. Something you wouldn't have, caught me wearing years ago. I'm wearing a Tudor Snowflake. I absolutely love this watch. The condition is fantastic, and the custard tritium and that bubble, the dial is super, super nice.
Yeah, that looks good.
And how about you guys? What are you wearing?
I have my Speedmaster on this leather strap that I'm obsessed with, because speaking of changing minds, I used to never wear brown and now I wear earth tones. So when did we go to Brinkers? Like 2 months ago?
Yeah.
It has come off this watch maybe twice in 2 months. And this has been my everyday wear for the most part lately. So
that's awesome.
I love it. What about you?
I've got the Oris pointer date, Big Crown pointer date, the blue dial, which I just adore.
Great watch.
I like it. I am excited to see. I know Fratello just released their limited edition. It's a limited edition, right?
Yeah.
The red's not my favorite, but I love seeing more iterations of this watch. So
I kind of like the red.
I'm not a red fan.
It's such a deep, like it's burgundy more, which I like. So
which color pointer date do you have?
I have the blue, like that bluish gray color.
Blue gray powder. I love that watch.
Yeah.
One of your watches. Oris reached out 2 weeks ago to do a short film on the new Aquas, the new movement. And everything.
Yeah.
And I told them that I'd prefer to do something. I love the Aquas. It's a great watch, but I'd prefer to do something on the Pointer or on the Pro Pilot.
Yeah.
Again, and that's a good example of, not that I don't stand behind the Aquas, but I just, if we're going to really dive into something, let's dive into something that I'm a little bit more interested in.
Yeah.
That can get behind a little bit, more.
Well, I mean, if you're not super excited about it, you're not going to put your entire effort towards it, at the end of the day. But
yeah, exactly right.
So where is, obviously you want to do more videos, where do you see Theo and Harrison in the next year or two?
We're looking to do two short films a month.
Okay.
Which is audacious. That's a ton of work.
That is a lot.
We're probably going to need to bring another editor on probably in Q2, which will be significant. It's a significant expense, and it's a significant just moment, But that's where the company's going.
Yeah.
And eventually, probably in 2022, I'm going to have to buckle up and break out and say, okay, we need to offer more products, because short films. We need other things, right? We have brands' attention. So basically, like I'll give you, the real 20-second explanation here. So everyone wants these short films. They're fantastic. Everyone wants them. So I look at it like I'm a Rolex AD, right?
Okay.
I have the Submariners. You want the Submariner, but I'm going to make you buy other shit first.
I love it.
That's it. That's it. We do 24 short films a year.
Yeah.
If you want one, you need to buy something else.
Yeah.
And the other thing is going to be great. You're going to there's a value add.
Yeah.
It's worth it, but you got to buy it.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's awesome.
So we're going to have to break out. Yeah.
And if you haven't, head over to their website. They've got lots of good stuff. You even got some apparel and a shirt that made me laugh out loud. I didn't even realize that you did t-shirts.
I had no idea.
And there's one that's called the Oyster Date. It's got 2 oysters and it says, what does it say? Like one a bone or something on it? Is that what it says?
One a bone. I missed a great opportunity to say one a shuck.
Yeah. And it's just like 2 oysters holding hands, and there's like a clean version and there's like the non-clean version. Of course, I like the non-clean because I'm like a 12-year-old boy and I like to laugh at those things. But it's great. Yeah, it's great.
My sister just said the other day we need more stuff in the
swag
gear shop. So we commissioned a couple of new designs. So probably like January.
It's fun stuff. I love this stuff, man.
More stuff.
Yeah, it's all fun and great. But thank you for so much for being on the show today. We had a great time. This was a great chat. Like probably the most real chat we've had with anyone on our show.
The explicit episode.
Thank you. No, this was so. I knew from Instagram that you guys were going to be really, really fun, and I'm glad we did this. It's funny when I used to go on these podcasts and stuff. Everyone would just, it was like the most not boring, but it was just like, oh, so what is your opinion on, the new Breitling? And I'm like, why the fuck did you even invite me here? Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
But anyway, this was really great. So thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you for drunk DMing Kat. Very much so appreciate it. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, do you want to let everybody know where they can find Theo and Harris?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to follow me on Instagram, follow me at Theo and Harris.
Follow Christian, because
that is the thing. You gotta follow Christian and watch his stories.
The best stories. You have the best stories. Like they make my Friday night, because I knew on the weekends you go wild, and I love it.
Oh, is it only on the weekends?
No, it's not always on the weekends.
No. What I'm saying, I'm making fun of myself. I used to go wild on the weekends, but
25 is a little more rough now.
More than anything, I love going out. I love eating and drinking and having fun. It's just the best. I don't do clubs.
Yeah.
I just love restaurants. So oftentimes after usually there's dates or whatever, I'm like, you know what would be hysterical if I posted on my story for the next 20 minutes. Like, I just have all of these thoughts from what the last 2 hours, and I have to make jokes.
Well, you just don't take yourself too seriously, and I love that, and I love this fictitious family that you've made up, that you have. It just cracks me up.
Oh no, it's actually how I think it's going to work out, which is not looking great for me.
Oh man, I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you want to take us out, Catlin?
Yeah, sure. Head over to our website, www.tennn2.com, for links to everything that we talked about, links to some of these videos, some photos, things like that. And be sure to follow us along on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at 10 and 2 Media.
All right. That's it. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
I'm bombed.